Yes, I'll move those.
Okay.
I'll second those.
Okay. Everybody in that we accept or approve the motion? Okay, passed or, it's not the correct term, is it?
Approved.
Approved. Thank you. Carried. Okay, motion that the minutes of the February 6th special council meeting be adopted as presented or amended.
I'll move those.
I wasn't there.
Okay, I'll second it. Okay, are there any corrections? No?
I have a question.
Okay.
It says that the information requested is going to be at our next special meeting. That was the training and all the other stuff we had discussed,
Yeah.
and that will be presented on the 20th.
So I didn't see that in the minutes, or I mean in the agenda, so when we get to that point, we'll have to bring that question up, I would suggest.
Okay, that's fine.
Okay, so everybody that's in agreement that we accept the minutes as presented?
Yes.
Okay, carried. There are no petitions or delegations, and I don't believe there's any questions from the public. Okay, on to item number 6, unfinished business. The Village of McBride Broadband Select Committee terms of reference, and those are presented on page 10 of the agenda. Okay, I'll make the motion that the council adopt the Village of McBride Broadband Select Committee terms of reference as amended. Anybody second?
I'll second it.
Any discussion? Rick Thompson, Councillor Thompson.
No, I just for clarification, the changes are in bold.
Bold italics, yes.
Okay, fine. Thank you.
Okay. Any other discussion? Questions?
What did he say, Lucille?
He said that he just wanted clarification that the changes from our previous meeting show up as bold and italics in the actual.
Okay.
Okay?
Thanks.
Everybody in agreement to accept the motion? Carried. Okay, now we get into the time-consuming 5-year.
One word, just a question through the chair to the administration.
Yes.
Would the next step be to advertise for public interest to sit on this committee?
I believe that was council's discussion, was that they would like to advertise for the members, so
Okay.
that's certainly the next step, yes.
Okay, thank you.
And do we need to give you direction to do that, or is that
I think we
understood?
already did, but I was just
Okay.
clarifying.
Good, thank you.
Can you give me just a quick synopsis of what that was? Because they're both really verbal.
Yeah.
I can hear them, but they're not clear.
Okay, Councillor Thompson was just clarifying that the next step is that it would be going for advertisement for interest to sit on the board of variance.
Oh, steering committee.
No, the select committee.
Okay.
Oh, the select
Thank-
committee, yeah. For this.
Thank you.
So do we also will need somebody to sit on the board of variance?
That's coming up.
That's coming up.
Okay. Okay, so item number B under 6, so the 5-year financial plan. So as Councillor Ruby asked for clarification, there were items that we had discussed at the special council meeting, and the understanding is that those items would be researched and information brought to council. So were you successful in that, Claudia?
Thank you, Acting Mayor Green. On some of the items, yes, no.
Okay.
Okay. The training on equipment, which was one of the items that was brought up, we have looked into that. One of the things that needs to be brought to council's attention, if we have everybody trained on every piece of equipment, that will be an increase in wages for all those people, because now we have can you hear me, Councillor Ruby? Can you
Sorry,
hear me?
I missed it. I couldn't hear you.
Okay, well, I will speak louder. So, what will happen is that there will be an increase in wages, and that's just because as soon as you're able to move forward on certain pieces of equipment, that will be an increase in wages. So we have to take that into consideration. So in other words, the class of wages goes up for no matter what they're doing, just period. They can now operate equipment, right? And as to having everyone trained on every piece of equipment, I don't know if that's really going to work, but we are looking into that, and I really do think that we have enough money in our budget to actually accomplish some of that. What we did do is take more into the sewer and the water training, so we separated the two. We needed 2 courses in the sewer completed and 2 courses in the water training, which we estimated each would be around $3,000. That's including accommodation, travel, and the wages too, because you're going to have to pay wages for the people, for those taking it, so that we get at least 2 people that are cross-trained in our water and sewer. That was one of the items. The other one was the garbage truck, and we have that. I believe the cost would be for interest. It's in here. I have to find it. We've had a busy last couple of days, and I was going to review this today, but I really didn't have a lot of time with the snow. I will be honest.
Okay, under contributions to capital, page 18.
Yeah, so we have the first year payments would be $48,449. And that's over a 5-year term of 2.6, but that interest rate is fluctuating. It's not set in stone.
Okay.
And this is through the Municipal Finance
Okay.
Authority.
Let's see, what page are we at?
Page 18, sorry.
Okay, thank you.
So that brings down the, now the CN, we have to remember the CN budget, like for the CN station is already, we've received that funds, right? So that's going to go through no matter what. Phase 3 roads, Phase 3 storm sewers. Mark Brown has asked to separate that out because they are different entities, and that is not, I mean, we'll have the funds other than, I think it's about $20,000 different. No, maybe not even that much. Difference between the grant that we've asked for and what it would cost us at this time. So then we have culverts, and this, we took out the ball diamond fence as that was agreed to not include that. And the cemetery fence, we've actually now received a quote for a chain link fence, and that comes in much lower.
Okay.
I'm trying to think, it was about 30,000. By the time this went to print, I didn't have it. I got it just after it. And I probably have that in here. Let me see. I should have it in here. Yeah, 20, okay, so there's 2 quotes actually. One is for, one is, what do you call it? Galvanized. Thank you. And it was about $17,000. And the other one is like a plastic, what does it have, the,
It's like a Teflon plastic coating over the wire.
correct, and that was 28,000, so that's like 10,000 more. So for 16,000, we can certainly have a new fence around the cemetery, and then we were considering where you put those slats in through to make it a little bit more aesthetically pleasing. But a big difference in price. So that's not included in this here because council didn't say which way they wanted it to go.
That's just for the materials for the chain link. That's not the installation.
Okay.
But the Public Works would be installing it, is that right?
Depending on, we can pick away at it.
And you also need concrete to set the bases and everything, so there'd be additional cost there.
Right, so, you know, you could be looking at 20,000 to 30,000 versus 40,000.
I'd put 35 in there and just,
Okay.
that's my personal, and then that covers off any surprises, and then the additional slats if that's decided.
If that's decided.
Quick question, Acting Mayor Green.
Yes.
Do we have any idea how much extra maintenance is involved with a chain link?
Chain link,
As maintenance being you're going to have to whippersnip around a chain link fence.
you're gonna have to whippersnip around any fence, would you not?
Can't you get a mower up to a posted rail
If,
and under?
so the chain link can be set 6
My
inches.
plan would be to set it high enough that it wouldn't eat the whippersnipper twine. And the existing fence now, we have to whippersnip it every time we mow it because there is always a strip of grass doesn't get reached. And cutting, whippersnipping around the cedar posts, we're basically sawing them down.
Yeah.
Is part of the problem.
Okay, so what the recommendation by the Public Works is they would put the fence so it's not right against the ground. There'd be a bit of clearance there, so the whippersnipper wouldn't be damaged in the process. And then he said, currently, right now, they're whippersnipping the cedar fence and post.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay,
And the other request I believe was made was talking about with the security system and having the screen monitor. And I have actually talked to the other company that's looking at the quote, and they said because it would be, their quote was going to be less than what Graydon's was, which is the 17,000 that we put in here, that it would come in, like they'd be able to do it for, and not have any increase in that budget.
okay. So we'll just leave it at 17 then?
Yeah.
And I think light fixtures,
That I
we still haven't been able to research that.
Haven't done that one.
Okay,
I've looked into it, but I think the 2 red poles that we currently have, I think we should probably relocate those elsewhere in town and look at replacing with something with an outlet up higher that we could plug in Christmas lights or something.
That's okay.
Because there's no way of putting a cord or anything on those ones to plug into.
okay, did you get that?
Not a word.
Okay, so with the light standards, the recommendation from Public Works is to move the red poles to another area, and then to put in new standards that allow you to actually plug in, so that we have something we can plug our Christmas lights into,
Okay.
where they would all be replaced eventually, but I think it's going to be like a 5-year plan to replace poles along the walkway. The other thing for Councillor Thompson, because he missed the meeting last time, is we had also discussed around the actual light standards, the ones that are highest at risk of getting knocked over, is probably building an in-place planter around them to protect them. Mayor Martin also suggested that we might consider combining planter in the sitting area, so that's something that we can look at for future as well.
But I have no cost on that, of what any
No.
of that would cost at this time.
Counselor Ruby?
Did we refer this to our grant writer to look and see what there was for grant monies out there?
Yeah, I think that was,
We did, but there is nothing at this particular time.
Really? Okay. Okay.
Counselor
Well,
Thompson?
If I may, if I may, while we're on the topic of streetlights, when we're looking at streetlights, are we looking at LED lights, or are we looking at down pointing lights that don't shine up to the sky? Is
Yeah,
that-
both.
I'm getting the right nod?
Yeah.
Good, that's the right answer, thank you.
Yeah, at the meeting you missed, Councillor, it was LED and dark sky lighting.
Okay,
was
good.
proposed, yeah.
Good.
And I think sort of after the meeting was over, so this got missed, we discussed summer student. Are we looking for grants for that as well, or?
We did talk about it. There is some union issues, as well as with the extra person we have now. In discussions with staff, it seems
Okay.
we should be able to keep up with.
With what we currently have.
I
So-
think, did the summer student deadline come and go?
Yep.
So it's come and gone?
Yeah.
Okay.
Should make a note that we put in the actual figures in the water and the sewer and the garbage for what was billed out, but actually I've got some corrections to those. So the sewer fees, that was that one. We tried. We had a very large mistake to somebody that they obviously knew that instead of having a heart attack, they came in and talked to us, and instead of being charged $26,000 for their sewer, which was only supposed to be $200.
Yeah,
So that will change this sewer figure.
okay.
And we'll actually do a quick peruse through them and make sure that everything is more to the actual figures before we get through. But we've actually sent out the fees and charges
Yeah.
for the sewer, water, garbage, have all been mailed out.
Just for future. Oh, thank you. Okay, are there any more questions or discussions on this financial report? I know Councillor Thompson was away, so I thought that he might have a few more questions.
Well, through the chair, I don't have a lot of questions. I just I didn't know at what stage council had got to on looking through this, so I
Rough draft.
was just looking at it for information. I hadn't
Okay.
had any previous. It looks like we have some trimming to do in spots to make it work. Am I correct on that assumption?
It is all up to what council wants to see moving forward, definitely. And what do they feel is they want to go forward with. So the culverts, I would, and maybe if it's possible, if Matt can speak to that, the two culverts. The zero-turn mower, he's already said that we could possibly live without. We could make it through another year. The garbage truck, we discussed that we could possibly make it through another year. The problem with the garbage truck, more so than anything, is we do need a new garbage truck. We're looking at replacing pretty much what we have, so we're not going to change any of the other infrastructure to do with it, so no bin changes, nothing to that effect. But it takes, just to, if something happened to our garbage truck, it would take probably over 6 months to replace it. So we would be looking at picking up garbage locally with whatever equipment we possibly could, which could be pickup trucks or that idea. So we were trying to be a little bit more proactive. We have 65,000 in reserve funds that went towards equipment. That's all that Mark Brown and I could find in regards to the replacement of the equipment. So council thought it best to look at doing a financial plan of 5 years. But that is the one item that we should probably look at. With the Robson Security Center security, that is a camera at the front desk, and that is, but it's not just Robson's, so I should really change that. It's actually the 600 frontage road security. It's the security in the perimeter of this building, and also at the water intake.
Three
Having
locations,
cameras
basically.
there too. So there's 3 areas that we're looking at. And the $17,000 was the quote that we were given to be able to, I think we had 4 cameras here on the outside, 3 or 4. I can't remember. And 2 or 3 at 600 and
I think, yeah, water.
2 at the water, or 1 at the water?
I think 1 at the water.
1 at the water. One of the issues we have there is the complying with WorkSafe and having a camera inside this office and looking out to the front counter for security measures. As for the cemetery fence, that could be put on the back burner. The roads, the storm sewer, and as I mentioned, the storm sewer project phase 3 in sewer is a grant we already applied for. So the only reason it's in here is that, and it shows us the revenue coming in and going out, but there is a cost to us. So the cost would be about $17,000. The upgrade to the lift station, which is in the sewer expenses, that is, once again, we do certainly need that taken care of, but we've also included in that is the camera, a camera to be able to go into the sewer system. Is that correct?
Yep.
And I believe the cost on that, I don't have off the top of my head, but I did last time. Do you recall the camera?
I think it's close to 10,000.
Yeah, I thought it was around 10,000. I'll have it here. So that was
in the budget for 10.
So it was 15,000 for the upgrade that we absolutely do need to have. There it is. I've got it right here. And the culverts was the First Avenue culvert and the Airport Road culvert. I
feel those will be probably further down on the list. I mean, we're already late now, everyone else got their bigger size culverts in. If they maintain in the spring, then we could probably wait a year and plan for those.
Right.
But if they don't maintain, we do it PEP and they fix it anyway. I don't know.
Yeah.
Because the fault won't be because of our infrastructure. The culverts we have are good and in good shape. The problem would be people upstream from us doubling and increasing the size of the culverts without giving us time to get it done. So we might be able to go through PEP for some of that.
I think your priority would be the culvert on Airport Road. Because like we were talking, the 2 900s should be able to keep up with the capacity on First Avenue.
Yes.
Okay, so, and that cost for the Airport Road was, you're probably looking at close to $11,000 to $12,000 for that one.
Right.
Yeah. And the camera and monitor to inspect the sewer lines was $10,000. So that's part of that upgrade to the lift station.
That's part of the 25,000.
Yes, that's right. So
19.
15,000 was for the actual motherboard, you call it, And the 10,000 was for the camera. The other thing that is totally up to the council once again is on the water side of it. We have the standpipe for the ball diamond. There was one there before. There's nothing there right now. We could certainly not put something in. That's a $6,000 charge. That's totally up to council once again.
That number is going to change, Claudia. I found an old standpipe in the backyard, and I repaired it for under $400, so we won't need to purchase the standpipe. We just got to dig and install it. So we have the standpipe for, I think it was like $374.
So be that in our labor.
And then to dig it and put it in.
So we can almost take that out of there then, because that
Yes.
would be part of. Okay. Okay. Is there anything else I may
So just
enlighten you?
please enlighten me, just for my clarification. So I'm hoping I'm trying to read this right, and my mind is all fuzzy, so I may not be.
Okay.
So I'm on page 13,
Okay.
and through my watery right eye,
All right.
I'm reading a figure of total revenues coming in, not including water and sewer, so just general, of 2085.
Yep.
2085. Okay. And I'm flipping over to page 29.
Okay.
And I see total expenditures of 2261. Am I reading that correctly?
Yes.
Which leads me to believe that we need some more revenue to meet our expenditures.
Absolutely. Or you're going to use your, and that's why we have using the surplus right now, which is both show that, and it shows it,
On page 18 shows
shows the same figure as using the surplus, part of your general surplus to accomplish.
so to balance the budget, we require bringing in 176,195.29
Okay.
from accumulated surplus.
So, thank you for that. So if I go back here then to page 12, and I apologize if I'm repeating questions that we're already talking
That's
about.
quite all right.
It's okay.
Proposed municipal tax revenue for 2017 of 456,786. Was there an increase in that, or is that just based on status quo?
That was the 2% increase that we had in the budget, like every year we put in the 2% increase.
2.5.
Sorry, 2.5, I apologize.
Okay. Okay. Okay, that answers my question.
That was actually, that figure was brought forward from our last year's 5-year financial plan.
Okay. Okay.
Now we have the work ahead of us.
Get out the scissors. Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah. Anything else, Councilor Ruby?
Sorry to back up, but I didn't hear what happened to our request for like a matrix of where our staff is in training.
Yeah.
That, you were talking about the equipment training, is that correct?
All
So not just the equipment training, everything training. Yeah, the WCP, the water, everything that our people are supposed to have.
Yeah, that's the one item that we had not done yet. We have budget allowance to bring our staff up to what they need, particularly in areas of water and sewer, in both the water, sewer, and general budgets. Claudia
Okay.
has stated that we have sufficient funds. As far as the request to look at what that training is that's required, we can provide council with that breakdown.
I'm sorry, I just missed that.
We can provide council with that breakdown of what staff has and what's required in 2018.
Perfect. Thank you. I just didn't want to miss that one.
Okay.
Any other discussion?
Not at this moment for me.
So, just through the chair,
Yeah.
I remember seeing an email from CAO of 8,000 meetings that are planned. Is that where additional discussion on this topic is going to filter through?
Yes, through the chair. It's certainly a draft for council's information, but council had requested to look at the various plans that are being brought forward, including the financial plan, the strategic plan, and economic development plan, as well as the tax rates bylaw and the annual report. So all those are on the docket, so to speak, and need to be done in some cases by April, May, and June. So we kind of work backwards from that, and along with the public input that's required at certain stages for certain of those plans. And that's the schedule was put forward. We try to minimize the amount of special meetings to accomplish that, but some of them are unavoidable. And council, again in your absence, didn't want to give any readings to this financial plan until you returned. And so it's scheduled at the next regular meeting, I believe, to have the first reading of the bylaw for the financial plan.
Okay. And just through the chair, have you budgeted for bunk beds? Just
I have some blow up, air mattresses. All you have to do is blow hard.
okay. No further
For
silly
sleeping.
questions.
Okay. Okay, I think we'll move on then to item number 7, reports. There being a report from Mayor Martin and one from Councillor Green. Any discussion? Okay. There is a motion to receive reports for information only.
That,
Okay, Councillor Ruby moved.
I'll second that.
Okay, all in favor? Okay, carried.
It's a little bit like David Ruth.
Okay, number 8, correspondence requiring action. I went through all of this. So there is a letter here from the Valley Museum and Archives Society. They're applying to the Library and Archives Canada under the Documentary Heritage Communities Program for funding of $15,000 for the Robson Valley Digitization Project. So they're basically requesting village support for their project, which they believe would be very rewarding to the community. The motion that is recommended is that council write a letter of support to the Valley Museum and Archives for their funding application to the Library and Archives in the amount of $15,000 for the Robson Valley Digitization Project. Does anybody, okay, Councillor Ruby?
I'll second that.
Any further discussion? All in agreement? Carried. There is some additional correspondence that's information only. And then the 9th item is bylaws, permits, and policies for the variance board. There we go. So there's a motion that, or it's recommended and motion that council give bylaw 775,2017 Board of Variance, 3rd reading as presented or amended. Okay, anybody want to make a motion on that?
I'll move the motion.
Okay, Councillor Ruby?
Can someone remind me what the delay was on this one?
It
I'm trying to
was,
remember why.
the delay was made, my understanding was because they wanted to include the fee in the
Okay.
services and fee charges bylaw. And once
Okay.
that was established, then the reference in here to that bylaw could be implemented.
That's what I thought, but I wasn't sure.
Yeah. So I will second that motion. And I only have one question. And it relates to item 9.1 under conduct of hearing. And then item 4.2 under appointment of board members. And I'm not sure if it's an overlap or a conflict or if it's good to go. The 4.2 states that the chair may appoint an acting chair to preside in the absence of the chair. And then 9.1 says a quorum for the board shall be 2 members. In the absence of the chair, the remaining members may appoint one or the other as an acting chair for the duration of the hearing. So do we need both of those, or would one do? Or if it's no conflict, I'm just,
You raise a good point.
it's, one is, okay, the 4.2 is on page 51, and 9.1 is on page 54 of the agenda. Skipped right by me the first time I went through. I just want to make sure that there's no conflict with those two statements. Councillor Thompson?
Well, as I read this, I'm looking at 4.2 and it says the chair may appoint an acting chair.
Yeah.
If I go to 9.1, if the chair is not at the meeting and neither is an acting chair, then one of those 2 members that's there has to be appointed as an acting chair for that meeting.
Okay, so there's no conflict?
I don't see it as a conflict.
Okay.
Okay. Confusing though.
Because it does say for the duration of the hearing, so
Yeah.
it's not like a continuous thing, it's just that you have to have a chair at that hearing.
Yes. Okay, I just wanted to make sure that we're all in agreement that there's no conflict, and I'm happy to follow the motion as presented. Okay. Okay, so any other discussion? Then the question is, all in agreement of the 3rd reading as presented? Carried. Okay, new business. Item A, highway signage, kiosks, and billboards. We had actually a meeting today with the sign committee, and there was only Linda Fry and Daniel Allens as representatives for the village, or for the McBride area. We had Robson Valley RV, we had the Forestry Rec Site representative, we had Miles Burns, Minister of Transportation, and Chamber of Commerce for McBride in attendance at that meeting today. All via phone because nobody wanted to travel. So there was just some minor discussions, and the only additional suggestion that really came up was under regulatory. Item 2 on the kiosk ideas. And it was just to make sure that people with recreational vehicles, whether they be ATVs or snowmobiles, are aware that they are required to be licensed and insured and registered and all those other good things in the province, and if they aren't, that there's a fine associated with that. So that's one additional thing that I'll put forward to the sign designer to see if that is applicable to add to potential signs. But otherwise, the committee's just going to continue on with their endeavor here and set up subcommittees so that kiosks and panels that relate specifically for villages or parks or other communities, other organizations, have representation, and we'd like to draw in the economic development people for both McBride and Valmont, mainly because the next component is when we're putting together information about the villages, we like feedback from the communities, and the economic development people already have a network established and they would be able to contribute to that. So we haven't set dates yet, but we will shortly. So. Anybody else want to jump in and questions, comments?
No, that's good. Thanks for doing that, Lucia. I'm sorry I missed it.
Okay. Report to council, Gateway to the Ancient Forest, use of trademark. And would like to make the motion that council receive report to council, Gateway to the Ancient Forest, use of trademark, as put together by our interim CAO, Mark Brown.
I'll move the receipt.
I'll second that.
Okay. And all in favor? And thank you for the information, because I wasn't aware of all of that, so it was good information. Reading through the report, towards the end are some recommendations, conclusions, recommendations by our acting CAO. And there is a recommendation that council allow other entities to use the Gateway to the Ancient Forest service mark, which service mark is equivalent to the trademark term, and that a licensing agreement be developed by staff and approved by council, and further, that any entity desiring to use the Gateway to the Ancient Forest service mark be required to execute the applicable service mark licensing agreement, and that would be with the village, right?
Correct, yes.
Okay. So does anybody want to make a motion here?
I'll move that motion as written.
Okay, and,
I'll second that.
okay. Any further comments, discussion at this point?
No, I just would look forward to receiving the licensing draft.
Yes. I'm in agreement.
Just,
Councillor
through the
Thompson?
chair, there's still it's great that we now have this, and I'm glad to see that. But there's still a lot of work to do, because I remember the work that was done with the Robson Valley region, and the detail that was put into how you can use the mark. And of course, they had graphics and stuff with it. But there's a lot of detail that staff will be working on to go through this. But this is the correct way to go as far as I'm concerned.
Would it be appropriate to borrow what the regional district has done for the Robson Valley region and use
Well,
that as a template?
It could
or
be used as a reference.
As a reference.
Like, it's worth looking at, but
Our situation's a bit different here.
it is a bit different. We don't have we didn't copyright a logo, we just copyrighted a phrase.
Yes.
So it's a lot easier. But making sure that we have control over that phrase
Yes.
is important, because as it says in the documentation, if you don't control your mark, you have to go to litigation.
Yeah.
And we don't want to do that.
No.
So I look forward to seeing Mark's great work on this mark.
Okay, so everybody in agreement with this motion? Okay, carried. Okay, so there is a package containing 2 memorandums from Lidstone and Company and a report from UBCM regarding non-medicinal cannabis licensing that's put forward here for discussion. So we can just open it up for discussion? Or
Yes,
do
basically I just received the information. I know council talked about it when they talked about supporting the resolution that was going to the province. And,
Right.
and this provides a lot of the information that council was discussing at that meeting. However, as far as a direction on how the village wants to go with regard to licensing, any bylaw changes, etc., is completely open for discussion, and no recommendations are put forward at this
Right.
time.
So I wrote down under that, do we need to establish a new bylaw for cannabis distribution in McBride, or are we able to modify the current business license bylaw? Because I think there's more than just the business license as an issue. We have location. Do we need to work with the regional district for people that are right on the border of our village? They're not inside, but we have 10 distributors around us. Like, do we have to work with Area H on this is the question I'm asking.
Through the chair, I would not want to be the first one to jump into this because there's going to be a huge amount of work that's required around cannabis distribution sites. And I would suggest that it's a lot more than just a business license bylaw. There will be a huge NMC distribution bylaw. And it's
Yeah.
going to be a lot of discussion, and it's not something that's going to be done off the side of one's desk. It's huge. It's going to be all over the province. So I would like to wait and see what starts to bubble up in other communities, particularly some of the surrounding communities, and how they're dealing with it. It's going to be interesting.
Do you have any recommendations?
We haven't had anyone apply for a non-medical cannabis license distribution site yet, I don't think.
Yet is the,
No, and I think it'll be several months after the June implementation of the federal legislation before that comes forward. And through the chair to respond, Councillor Thompson. I'm hopeful too that there'll be some work done by other municipalities and even law firms that will provide bylaw templates
okay.
for places such as us.
Yeah, that would be preferable. Did you catch that, Councillor Ruby?
I'm sorry,
Okay.
acting Mayor Green, I've gotten about 12 words out of that entire 2 speeches.
Okay,
I heard
so,
bylaw,
yeah,
not
so,
myself.
so basically, the recommendations and the discussion here is that we wait to see if there's a boilerplate or template set up by some legal entity for small communities such as ourselves, so that we don't, because it's going to be a lot of work. So if we have something that's already established for us to work from, that might be preferable to us jumping in with both feet and then finding we're off the mark.
I agree with that, although I think we do need to start thinking about this because even a boilerplate or a template might not necessarily fit exactly for us. So we don't want this to get too far off the table.
Yeah,
It's time to start thinking about what we want to see for our municipality.
yeah, and how it ties in with the regional district, because we aren't alone in this, in Belmont, that the whole Robson Valley, how do we deal with it, right? And then, because it's going to, you have Dunster and Dome Creek, and you have all of these small communities within the area. But yeah, I agree, we're gonna have to get to it sooner or later, so we have to keep this sort of on the back burner and not let it drop off the table, so.
And I think just, knowing, not kicking the can down the road, as Councillor Edwards might say, but the government is, in section 4 here, does say that the province is considering implementing distinct rules for rural communities, rural areas. So the rules aren't even out there yet, I don't think, but section 3 of the document, from the Union BC Municipalities outlines some very succinct questions that we need to have discussions about. Are we going to allow retail outlets? How are we going to zone them? What are the responsibilities that are, so it's a
It's a
big
huge
public
project,
discussion.
yeah.
I
Okay.
think the internet's getting tired.
Yeah, he was just saying that under UBCM's Section 3, local government discussions, there's a whole series of questions and considerations that we need to look at for the future. So it's, we aren't going to solve this one overnight.
Although I did notice that some of the UBCM questions had already been answered by the lawyers.
Some of them have been, yes.
Yeah, but definitely the others were not.
Okay, so I guess any more discussion on this item before we adjourn the meeting?
Nope.
No? Okay. Motion, does somebody want a motion to adjourn?
I'll
So moved.
move to adjourn.
Okay, by Councillor Thompson at 8:55, or sorry, 7:55. Okay,
Perfect. Lucille, can I borrow Mark for just 1 second?
yeah. Just come on over here, Mark.
Hello, can you hear me now?
One very digitized. Hi.
Hi.
Can I get you to give Dave a call at some point in time when you have time? 7569-725